Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of those lies as Arjun act like he's surprised. And there we go again. I gotta say, it's always a wonderful time when I get to connect with you, It's Friday. We apologize. I had some stuff going on this week that did not allow us to work on Wednesday for y'all. Next week might have to be the same. We'll talk about that later on. But hey, man, how you doing, man? I miss you. It's been a while.
It has been some time. It feels like it's been years, to be honest with you. Every Wednesday, I look forward to the podcast so much. I know for outstanding reasons we could not join live and entertain the audience on a Wednesday night. So we're coming at you live on a Friday. The theme song is still the same. Sorry about that, but it's an amazing theme song. I think we both love this song so much. We may never change it. I think so. But, some things are changing, and it is a sign of the times, I suppose, with everybody staying at home, nothing better to do. A lot of those big-time publishers, like your Epic Games, for instance, they're coming out with a lot of free stuff. And, notably, one of the biggest offerings that they came out with recently was GTA 5, the Premium Edition. And for those of you that don't know, GTA 5 is basically a Grand Theft Auto marquee game where they're basically giving you the opportunity to become your own kingpin of a crime enterprise. You can do almost whatever you want in this game, and it's been around for quite a number of years, probably since 2015 on the PC, maybe even longer on console editions. And it's quite amazing to me that they made it completely free. I am kind of new to PC gaming. Don, of course, is the expert. He knows all about this stuff, and he kind of let me know, like, hey, check this out. It's free. About time you install it. And I did install it, and let me tell you a quick story, man. My laptop hard drive, it's an okay laptop. I have a Legion Y7000. It's a decent graphics card, I would say. I don't really play any games on it. Maybe you can call me a poser with a gaming laptop without any games on it, but that's the case. And, I haven't installed anything until this particular game. And I thought, okay, maybe it's like, 20 gigabytes, 30 gig. I can handle that. Little did I know, when it's installing, it gives me an error because I need to clear about 100 gigabytes just to fit this game in. 100 gig. My little hard drive is only 250. So I'm struggling right out the gate. But Don was very patient. Yep. He gave me a few days to get my shit together. Yep. And we finally were able to start. And how would you say our experience went initially, Don?
Hey, when we first got on there? I learned a lot about you, for sure. And, what really got me was when you're having problems aiming. And we had to figure out and troubleshoot that issue. I was trying to enjoy the game myself. I was in it waiting for Arjun to jump on. And he's like, yo, man, I can't get past this. Like, I've done it so many times on the consoles. But for some odd reason, I'm always shooting the hostage. And after maybe like shooting the hostage maybe a dozen times, you go ahead and ask me to finally troubleshoot it. And we work it out. And it turns out that your Lenovo screen was had a little speck on it. A little speck, I would say, right?
That's right. So I mean, for those that know, in these types of games, there's usually like a shooting reticle at the middle of the screen, and that's what you aim with. That's what you focus on. I thought I was doing that. I really thought I was doing that. But Don put it out to me like, hey, you're shooting him in the arm. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? The dot is clearly on his head. And then I looked a little bit further. I squinted my eyes. And what did I see? A speck of dirt directly on the guy's head when the reticle's actually on the arm. And that was throwing me off the whole time. And I was like, dude, this is really embarrassing. This is mortifying. This is like not even a rookie mistake. This is just you shouldn't even be playing games mistake. You know what I mean? So I credit Don for being as, I guess, nice as possible in that situation
Sure.
and telling me very kindly, hey, clean your screen. The reticle is right there.
Yep,
So thank you,
yep.
Don, for
And I
coming
think,
through on that
you
one.
know, we were able to play a little bit. You know, we were able to hit the streets, the mean streets of, what is it? I don't even know the town.
Los Santos.
Los Santos. He didn't check out the crib that I had set up yet. You know, we didn't have enough time for that, but he did drop by to pick me up, which was solid. I was running away from the police at the time, so he didn't actually see the crib. Kind of like drove by it, I think, and met me up. Then, you know, being the hero A is, you know, he was on top of a building, you know, and rather than walking around, he just straight up jumped it for me. And, yeah, that's one of those things I'll never forget. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, man. Hey, and I mean, talk about Epic Games, dude. They just released a heavy hitter that you're definitely gonna have to install, man. I'd rather play that than GTA at this point with you, because this game is much more complex in my opinion and offers a larger variety in a more peaceful manner, even though it's a war game, and that game is Civilization 6. It's great, man. It's free. I didn't expect them to release it for free because they're still charging people on Steam for Civ 5. You know, and for Epic to basically pull the trigger on this shows me that Epic Games is making some moves to become a premier sort of client or app, depending on, I don't even know the right word. You know?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I think they're known as launchers, right? Like
this
Epic Games. Epic Games has a launcher. Steam has a launcher.
Yeah.
I think other companies
like
have launchers too.
Origin, Blizzard.
Yeah.
But like, so it's like a collection, basically. It's like almost like a user interface specific for, I guess, games that they handle, more or less.
That's right. And the bizarre part about this is, I mean, first of all, guys, just to be perfectly clear here, I don't really game too much on the PC, so I'm learning a lot of new things. So if I sound like a noob, go ahead, call me out on it. But basically what I learned is there's launchers within launchers. There's like launcherception. So when I first opened the Epic Games launcher, I thought, okay, now I can just click on GTA 5 and it'll start for me. It doesn't work that way. When I click on GTA 5 to run it, it opens up the Rockstar Games launcher.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting how there is a launcher inside of a launcher, and you have to sign up for an Epic Games account and an account with the Rockstar Social Club.
Yeah.
It's like so many layers to it. But with Civilization 6, my experience with that franchise actually goes back many years. Back when I was an undergrad, there was this demo, I believe for the Xbox 360, called Civilization Revolution.
Okay.
I think it was kind of a watered down version of the full PC game, but a little bit more animated, a little bit more colorful because it's for the console. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I actually remember one night I was supposed to study or do some homework, and I downloaded this demo and was so addicted. I kept playing all night until like 3 or 4 a.m. I saw the civilization of India go from Delhi to space over the course of like 7-8 hours, and it was a very encompassing, enthralling experience. I have not touched a Civ game since then, so man. I am kind of curious. I'm looking forward to seeing what Civ 6 has to offer.
Hey man, I can't wait for you to try it. And it's funny that you mentioned India, because there's a common meme for all those that play Civ where Gandhi, who is for lack of a better word and to simplify it, the hero or the leader of your specific civilization, that being India, tends to have a very peaceful nature. But in the game, he's usually the first one to rush to nukes.
Really?
Well, sure, we'll talk about that after. But yeah, there's been almost like an AI glitch before. I think they fixed it since. I'm not sure. But in the original release, I believe in Civ 5, Gandhi was always the one throwing down the bombs sooner than anyone else. So,
wow.
And
speaking of throwing down the bombs, sometimes war is real. War is a very real thing. It can happen on the battlefield. It can happen in the courtroom. It can also happen of course, you know I was getting into this. Inside the House of Commons, inside the UK Houses of Parliament. And what am I referring to here? Of course, most people don't know because this is very esoteric, but there is this chamber. There is this chamber, a legislative chamber inside the UK, specifically in central London, that houses the, you could say, the equivalent of the senators and congressmen of the US in London. And what they do is they basically debate. They talk about a variety of issues, some that are very important to local constituencies, some that are more nationally invested in general. And in this particular time, of course, with COVID-19, there's a lot of social distancing going on. Typically, in this House of Commons chamber, you'll have probably 400 plus members of parliament sitting in a very, very tight chamber with no air conditioning. It's stuffy, and they're very rowdy too. They're rowdy for a couple of reasons. Number one, usually a member of the government comes to the podium, and to kind of like draw this picture out for everybody who's never heard of this before, imagine a auditorium, okay? And at the far end of the auditorium, you have a high chair, kind of like a Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. On that chair is the referee of the match, okay? That's known as the Speaker of the House of Commons. And then to the Speaker's left, you have a bunch of almost like stadium-style rows of seating. This is where the government, the official executive branch, sits. And then on the other side, you have the opposition party, consisting of the Labour Party, which is the second majority after the Conservatives. And then you have the Scottish National Party, you have the, Northern Ireland, the DUP, you have all the other smaller factions there too. So the interesting thing is, from time to time, you have this very interesting PMQs, which is Prime Minister Questions. Every Wednesday, what tends to happen is the Prime Minister of the UK, in this case Boris Johnson, he comes to the podium, he comes to his stanchion, and he is dealing with question after question from all different kinds of members across the House. But it starts off with this back and forth with the Labour Party opposition leader. And in this case, it is a new leader. It is Sir Keir Starmer, a former barrister. He has replaced Jeremy Corbyn as a new leader of the Labour Party. And there's a back and forth, right? So Sir Keir Starmer gets to ask a question, Boris answers. Starmer asks again, Boris answers. Usually, this kind of environment is very beneficial. It's very positive for the people in power, for Boris Johnson, because he would have his back against like 300 plus people all supporting him, all shouting for him, cheering him on. But in this particular scenario, he only has 30 people. And on the other side, they have 30 people. So suddenly, that advantage that he had to kind of boost him and to give him support for every word that he's saying is gone. It's equalized. And what makes matters worse is Sir Keir Starmer is not Jeremy Corbyn. Sir Keir Starmer, a former barrister, he's extremely forensic. He will take a line that the government had said in some official report, some official document in the previous week, and find a contradictory statement in the current week, and then ask the government, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? You're not running this pandemic correctly. You're not protecting the interests of the British people. And it's a very interesting article that I specifically found that basically details all this. This is from the New York Times, of course, written by Mark Landler and Stephen Castle from May 19, 2020. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, Don, on the whole dynamic of it. Usually you have a large gang of people behind the prime minister going up against a rather small minority of the opposition, but in this case the tables have turned, so to speak. And it's kind of equalized. So what's that like for you?
I mean, okay, so I know you're heavy into European politics. For what reason, I still don't understand, aside from the comedic part of it, or just that sort of like, what is that, your guilty vice, one of those, like, it's one of your things, like the WWE, basically politically versed. But I think you made a couple words that stood out to me. Damn, this beer is hitting hard. I'm stumbling. Here we go. I mean, because of COVID, I'm assuming that's why Boris's 300 aren't there behind him, and he's down to a measly 10% of what's normally there behind him. Is it because of COVID?
Yeah, basically because of the COVID-19, the social distancing, you have to have 2 meters apart from everybody. So now,
meters. See, look, you're even going metric on us now, dude. Well, who are you, man? What happened to the 6 feet? Well, come on, dude.
Yo, I'm keeping it a buck because in the UK they actually go by 2 meters,
I know,
which is about 6 foot.
I get it.
6 foot
yeah,
3.
6 foot.
So yeah, it's just different. Like I know we say 6 feet. I know, but for them it's a little bit longer. They need like a few inches more.
Man.
All right.
But I mean, all right. Well, because I think Boris's homies are not there, the opposition finally has a chance to, step foot into gang territory, right? Boris's crew is lacking. The other side is catching them lacking. And just like in any gang territory, man, when you're caught lacking or slacking, whatever you want to call it, it's an opportunity for another gang to go ahead and claim some territory, claim some ground on this proving ground that this House of Horrors is. So I think that's what's going on, man. Boris, being the face, everybody wants to be king. Everybody wants to talk shit about the king, especially when things don't go their way. The opposition is taking full advantage of the fact that he's being caught slacking and lacking, and all his homies aren't there to, back him up. It's kind of sad though that this Starmer guy. I'm blanking. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but
it is. You got it.
Why is Starmer being such a, I don't know, to the T, detail-oriented guy? Because, fuck, I mean, Boris has been in the hospital for, a while, and then he comes out, and then he's expected to go in right away, full at bat, bases loaded, everything like that. They're not giving him a couple, easy hits, little underhand throws here and there.
So I guess here's a very interesting thing about UK politics, and I fully acknowledge that it is rather obscure, to say the least, that I know this much about it. But in UK politics, the culture of the UK, the British culture, really cares a lot about holding politicians to account. So what does that mean? It means that politicians are always subjected to question time. They even have dedicated government time where the prime minister has to come in to a rowdy House of Commons and answer questions for 30 minutes that could be about anything and everything. And really, it's about keeping them honest, right? Whatever policies they're exacting, whatever things they want to do, they have to defend it to a T. And that's kind of the reason why whenever these PMQs happen, these Prime Minister questions on Wednesdays, the Labour Party opposition, in this case Sir Keir Starmer, he is going to go hard. He's going to find everything you fucked up on and call you out on it over and over again until you give a satisfiable answer. And if you say something that sounds like you're deflecting the question or not really answering the straight question, he'll call you out on that too.
Hey, and man, this is sounding like Trump going in, against the reporters nowadays, where it's all fake news. How come Boris hasn't come up with a phrase to cut him up like that, man? Just be like, oh, you're fake news. You're fake news. Get out of here. I shouldn't even be talking to you. Can he do that or no?
Well, the funny thing is, with the previous Labour Party leader, Jeremy Corbyn, there was a bunch of things that Boris liked to say for him, man. As a matter of fact, one thing that Boris really liked to say about him was call him a chlorinated chicken.
What?
Chlorinated chicken. There's a bit of an inside joke on this one because, with all the Brexit stuff going on and all the trade deals that are about to happen with the US and other countries, one of the things that the UK does not want from the US is chlorinated chicken. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, America, we like to chlorinate our chicken and send them around maybe as a disinfectant. We put the chlorine in there. I'm not really sure. But the UK seems to have higher standards for a lot of their food products. So chlorinated chicken is not loved. It's not wanted by the UK. And so in the similar light, Boris likes to paint the picture that the Labour Party opposition, Jeremy Corbyn, is a chlorinated chicken. It's unwanted. Nobody wants him. Nobody votes for him. But he's there. He's just a very undesirable thing. And there's a bunch of others. I can't quite remember them off the top of my head. But I think it takes time for Boris and the rest of the government to come up with these nice catchphrases and things like "Get Brexit Done" to really stir up the troops to his favor. Keir Starmer is relatively new, and he's effective. And that's a problem, especially because the government's spending all the time, not necessarily with politics, but on handling this crisis, right? The pandemic. And it's one of those things where, the UK is very traditional, right? They've been doing this House of Commons at Westminster Palace for the longest time, for hundreds of years, and they're very slow to adapt to change. One of the other things I noticed is, how all of us are working from home to some extent. Some of us, of course, are starting to get back into the office, like myself, but in general, it's well known that during COVID season, you work from home. In the Houses of Parliament, they have been doing that partially. They allow some MPs to come into the chamber, and everybody else is basically Zooming in or Skyping in. But some of these Conservative Party members, and of course the Conservative Party, the Tory Party, is what's backing Boris, they're refusing to continue this way. They don't want a hybrid parliament. They want everybody to come back. And the whole conspiracy theory behind that is they're so afraid that their leader, their dear beloved Boris Johnson, is getting smacked across the face by Keir Starmer every Wednesday that he needs all those people back just to support him, just to make him look better. So that's the state of affairs for the UK.
Hey man,
but
I gotta ask really quick. Soften it up. Do you have the article up?
Yes, I do.
So in the picture, all the way on the top, there's bottles all over. Are these guys popping bottles during these heavy meetings?
Well, I know the bottles look like vodka, but it's actually water.
Okay, because the one on the right, if you look at the right, that looks like a whiskey almost, but yeah, it's probably because of the background. There's some wood back there that's making it that brown hue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, they go hard over there. Like, they don't.
Can you imagine? They have to down a whole bottle of vodka or gin just to keep going.
Yeah, man.
But just to kind of give you an idea, like now that you have this picture up, so this is kind of what I was talking about. You have the speaker on this Game of Thrones style kind of chair, this really nice looking chair, all the way at the back of the chamber. To his left is the government party, and there's this little bit of a podium here.
Sure.
This is where it's called a dispatch box. So on the left dispatch box, that's where the prime minister or some kind of representative of the government comes to talk his shit. On the other side, there's another dispatch box. This is where the second biggest party in the House of Commons, which is the Labour Party, known as the official opposition party of Her Majesty, Her Majesty being the Queen, they come up to that dispatch box and they have the microphone set up. So they basically go one at a time. It's not both of them talking at the same time, like a debate, like an American debate, rather. They take their turns. They talk their shit. They sit down politely and listen respectfully to what the other guy's saying. So it's a very interesting twist on politics.
Okay,
yeah,
and there's that giant scepter right in the middle. That's pretty badass. I assume they use that as their bottle opener right there. That's about it, right?
That's right. It's a part-time bottle opener, part-time, weapon, and also basically when that scepter is in that position, it means this is official government business, and the Speaker of the House has to be sitting there to conduct it. When the scepter is lowered to the lower position, you can't really tell, but there's actually a lower set of rungs right there.
I see it. Yeah, right under. Yeah, almost like hooks.
When that happens, the speaker has to exit the chamber, and a deputy speaker comes in to conduct a committee business. So it's a very, procedural. There's like tons of like weird procedures and esoteric rules.
It's almost ritualistic, almost. In its sense.
It is, and in a sense, it's kind of like a tradition that we can find in American politics. So for the longest time, in case you don't know, Don, there is this interesting tradition called the White House Portrait Ceremony.
Tell me more.
And I will tell you more. So let's first cite the article. This was found on NBC News.
Credible site, not fake news.
Right. Or some would disagree, but yes, I would call them a credible source.
For tonight, at least.
For tonight, at least. For Carol, this is from Carol E. Lee on May 19, 2020. And basically, this kind of goes over, and I was learning about this for the first time, a kind of a 30 or 40-year history of, the current president bringing back the former president and first lady and introducing their custom painting, a self-portrait by an artist of their choice that would be hung up at some room in the White House. This has been going on for quite some time. Like, the Bushes, the Reagans, the Carters. Like, everybody had something. Even JFK. They all had something that was unveiled, and it's kind of nice because, I don't know about you, Don, but I like the idea of rivals, political rivals, kind of coming together for something that is kind of for the greater good, something that's for history, where you can kind of laugh at old times and say, hey, look, let's kind of appreciate the service that you had, even though we differed in political viewpoints. Let's appreciate the service and hang up this very beautiful painting, beautiful portrait of you and your lovely wife in the White House, so future presidents, future people who walk through these great halls can admire and learn and appreciate all that you've done. So it's a very nice tradition. Now, the problem is, obviously, this time of the year is around the time that Trump was expected to invite Obama over and unveil the paintings that Obama and Michelle Obama had commissioned to be done on their behalf around this time. But the problem is, they're beefing right now. Don, you're well aware, almost every week Trump likes to mention Obama. Some kind of issue now is Obama's fault, just to kind of charge up his base, charge up the rhetoric, because of course in about 6 months time, maybe even less than 6 months, we're going to have another election. And so with Biden kind of being stuck at home, not being able to go out on any rallies, Trump is using his press conferences and his Twitter account as all the rally potential that he needs. So, I thought it was kind of sad that this tradition that's been going on for so long may now be in jeopardy because of this beef that's truly one-sided. Obama, I don't think he wants this beef. He doesn't want this smoke, but Trump keeps giving it out. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you think this is a sign of the times, like it's going to be like this from now on? Or will Trump finally turn the page over and he'll say, water under the bridge, Obama, come back to the White House. Let's have a nice chat.
I think Trump will do part of that. I think that he will still eventually hold whatever ceremony this is. But will he, be able or to be heard saying, hey, water under the bridge, I hope everything's cool? Doubt it. I doubt it. If anything, he's going to play nice when the cameras are on, without, shooting himself in the foot with something that you could quote him on, which you can nowadays daily. Right. Sunlight, heat. But, I think when I read this, some of the other past presidents, when they held the ceremony for their predecessors, were actually doing it during their own re-election campaigns. And given that time is coming up for our dear beloved Trump, a.k.a. U.S. Boris Johnson, I think it's in the works. He has other shit going on, and obviously with the COVID stuff going on, he's not going to be allowed to basically throw a little mini party with people, especially high prolific people that will be showcased across all media platforms in video form. I think it's just, he's waiting on it. He probably would have waited on it anyways, even if COVID season wasn't, hot and heavy right now. But yeah, he'll get to it. Just give him time, man. Give him time. Come on, dude. He's got other things going on.
And speaking of things going on, I know I haven't, shared this with you in the pre-production, but have you heard what Joe Biden recently said in a radio interview with Charlemagne the God?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you know who Charlemagne the God is,
of course,
right?
Man.
Yeah. Breakfast Club, shout out. So the thing is, obviously they're doing remote interviews right now.
Sure.
And Biden was on the show, and at the end he made this comment where he was like, black voters ain't black if they're considering Trump.
Ooh.
He just kind of said that to Charlemagne the God, and Charlemagne was kind of surprised by that. And obviously Twitter and social media, everybody was like, wow, that was really out of line. Like, I can't believe, you could say something like that, even in jest. Obviously, he was kind of doing it in jest, but it was kind of wild to hear him say something like that. And that made me think, of something that may be a little controversial here, but I kind of want to get your thoughts. I'll frame it in a way that's not controversial. A while back, do you remember Kanye was talking that talk on TMZ? He was giving that really wild interview, which I happened to sample, by the way, for the beat that I made.
Sure.
I think you rapped on that one too.
Yeah.
But Kanye was saying something to the effect that, like, African American voters have been taken for granted by the Democratic Party for the longest time. And they're a very loyal bunch, obviously, but that loyalty has also been taken for granted. And he's kind of challenging the notion that, just because you're black, you have to vote Democrat. It's not a thing that most people say, but it's been a political trend over the years. If you do look at the breakdowns by demographics, African American voters tend to vote predominantly Democrat. So this kind of made me think, with Joe Biden kind of rehashing that sentiment, as if, black people have a history of voting Democrat. He's also, of course, saying that he does well with the African American population. He has a good approval rating among them. But I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you think these political trends are shifting? Do you think the whole idea that you can count on certain demographics, certain minorities to consistently vote for a certain party over the years, is that going to keep going on? Or with the whole, let's say because of COVID-19, because of the Trump effect, because of what the amount of shock that was caused, sure. Especially in the East Coast and West Coast, which are very liberally biased, I'll admit.
Yeah.
A lot of us were surprised that Hillary got ousted on election night. Do you think now we're seeing a cultural shift?
Yes and no. I mean, just to bring credibility to what you had been talking about, I went ahead and looked up, quick Google search. I was able to find pewresearch.org that at least in 2018, blacks were 90% Democratic support.
Right.
Right. So it's definitely there. When it comes to cultural shift, I think don't take this as a quote, but I'm pretty sure Kanye was also in that same interview saying something where Democrats used to be the original Republicans and things of that sort. Democrats used to be the oppressive political party to their people back in the day and things of that sort. And if that was true, I didn't go and research it because this is kind of live. I mean, it's bound to happen. Things will obviously change over time, and I think that Trump obviously has taken the helm of the Republicans and made it his own and really made a strong business-minded presidency. With what Biden said, that was totally just not cool at all. Because if he had said that about our race or any other race, they would be speaking up themselves, right? And I looked it up on the Washington Post. He's quoted as saying, "I shouldn't have been such a wise guy." Well, no fucking shit, old man. Like, come on, dude. Yeah, I don't know what Charlemagne said afterwards, but I'm pretty sure he might have made a comment or smirked like, "Ah, shit, like this just did not go according to plan there." Because obviously it's like, well, I'm assuming Charlemagne wanted to help up Biden's support somehow, some way, some form. And with that one comment, it may have backfired completely.
Yeah, and this is kind of interesting because I think, in case you don't know, for the Breakfast Club show, which Charlemagne, of course, is one of the hosts, during the time when all the candidates were viable, they all kind of made their rounds. The Kamala Harris interview was probably one of the most infamous because she was talking about, smoking weed back in the day. She was talking about, listening to Snoop and maybe Tupac and whatnot. But the timing of when she was saying this didn't really match up. Like the albums didn't really come out around the same time.
Sure.
She seemed a little phony.
Dude, and it's I mean, I hate it when people talk off the cuff about stuff they don't know. I mean, you and I can both understand that these candidates do not do their own research. They have a damn team in almost every city,
Sure.
fueling that campaign and fueling every word that's printed out in front of them to read. If anything, they should just be the figurehead, right? We've talked about this before. That's what I believe a president should be. It should be a motivator, more than anything, and that symbol, more so than someone that actually speaks out loud and, you know, lets their thoughts run wild. Keep that to yourself, everyone. And Joe Biden's a prime example of that right now. If you had just listened and read and repeated whatever the hell you spent 10 minutes prior to this interview, your team had reviewed, you would have been fine, buddy. But no, let's try to be funny and let's try to make it seem that, you know, your $1 million is the same as someone else's $100 annually, you know.
Well, tell me this though. Let me take it to another level here. And you might not like this question, but if instead of Biden, this was Obama, and he had said the same thing, and let's say in response Charlemagne laughed,
sure,
this wouldn't be the issue. This wouldn't be a topic that we're talking about today.
Of course not. Cultural appropriation. Yeah, I get it. It's one of those.
So you actually think then Biden was doing some cultural appropriation there by saying what he did?
Oh, he was trying to, but obviously you can't. Not in his shoes. I don't think he can. I mean, I don't think we've reached the point in our lives where other races can talk about other races. There are some things that, as a Filipino, I could talk shit about my own people and Filipinos. But if someone were to talk shit about Filipinos that wasn't Filipino, I'd be a little offended by it.
Fair enough, and I agree with you there. So in this case, then, is this another example of Biden thinking that he's Obama? Like, of course.
What? What kind of question is that?
It's a serious question, actually, and I wasn't expecting such a raucous laughter. But I would say that I think Biden so closely ties himself to Obama's legacy because naturally he was the vice president at the time. I wonder if in this moment, in this interview, he kind of forgot that he was Joe Biden. No. And he thought that he was Barack Obama.
It could be, man. But it's like, if anything, dude, that's just him being an old man. There's been so many things on the internet nowadays and people talking about it where he is basically on his last leg and, you know, and he's not mentally all there. I don't know the truth behind it. But for him to kind of think that his association as the right-hand man of Obama allows him to make such statements is okay.
Right.
Just, it ain't right, man. It's like, dude, okay, I went to UC Irvine, and I talked to an astronaut, meaning I was part of his success. No, that's not how it works. You know, like, oh, my roommate at school, one of my best buddies is now a doctor and he saves lives on the daily. I'm partly responsible for that, so I'm allowed to make bogus medical claims as if I were a doctor. That ain't true.
But see, Don, your examples aren't very appropriate because in this case, Biden was the right-hand man to Obama and he was part of that administration. Debatable? That's debatable.
No. That, yeah, I guess. But to me, a vice president doesn't really do much. What does a vice president do?
Well, let me retort and say, what does the president do? The president has a team of people doing the job for him.
That's true. But, I don't know. What are you laughing about?
No, replace president.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was going to go back to one of our initial conversations, maybe in 1 and 2, where he's first in line. That's his only job. He sits around otherwise. He's just waiting. He's like the professional bench warmer, just waiting. He's like, Coach, put me in. When the star gets hurt, put me in, Coach. I got this.
And now he may have a shot. But we shall see. I think
dude, I don't think so, man. I
really?
I don't, man. I mean, time will tell, but the red states are strong. And with all the things that I've been hearing and reading about with what Biden does and with what we're talking about now, he's lost touch with living, I think.
Wow, that's harsh.
I mean, dude, all the things, like, I don't want someone that is not mentally there. I'd rather have someone that is an angry white man who is trying to do the right thing for the bottom line than someone you can't even tell or prove if he could formulate a sentence on his own, let alone a damn speech.
I wonder, when you were saying this description of Trump very beautifully, if you had replaced white with Filipino, would you essentially have gotten President Duterte?
Oh yeah, that's my dude. Hey, have you seen the rates of everything? Dude,
can you before you continue, can you maybe give us like a brief overview of Duterte? I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, Duterte,
but Duterte. Okay, can you okay, just kind of like tell the audience, including myself, who is this guy? Because I don't know much about him.
Yeah, I won't speak too much about it because I don't necessarily agree with everything that he does.
But you just said he's your guy.
He's my dude, man. Hey, if you are a firm believer in the bottom line and getting things done, he's your guy. If you're worried about the methodology behind achieving that goal, he is not your guy. But he is currently the president of the Philippines, and he has very, very strict policies that you will 90% of the time not agree with. He's a very rough and tough kind of guy that has kind of imposed a fight against drugs where even if you are a suspected drug dealer, you may be found shot and dead overnight if caught. Wow. Things of that sort. But I mean, crime rate has gone down, and drugs, so I'm just saying, you gotta look at both sides.
It's easy for the crime rate to go down when all the killing's being done by the police.
Hey man, you know what? Hey, it's all in the data. Right? Hey, dude. Cool. I mean, I think everything. The one thing I'll mention about COVID, we talked about it briefly with your boy Boris and his gang. A lot of hospitals now and other institutions are rating all their stuff or all their cases as COVID cases to get full reimbursement. It's all, and I bring that up because what may be shown in the data may be wrong, right? Your analysis is only good as your data, and your data is only as good as the source. So, I don't know, man. I don't know where I was going with that, but all I know is...
Let's stay on. No. Before you transition to something else, let's stay on there. So, you're basically saying that a lot of the deaths that have been happening are attributed to COVID-19, but they may only be doing so, at least partially, because they want to get reimbursed by the federal government.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I haven't read or saw the data, and I can't speak for the institution that I work for, because I can't see that data myself.
Sure.
But I know that the policies enact are basically, or rather, the strategy for hospitals right now has been to, minimize your elective sort of surgeries and kind of have your spot ready for any spikes in COVID-related cases, right? Because there is some sort of distancing that has to occur, and you're going to need, the teams ready and willing to handle such complexities as they come. Because of that, if you get a normal case, typically you're going to want to reach for the highest level of coding that would still be somewhat legal or within legal right of coding. And in this case, that's COVID. So if a person comes in and they may have COVID, or they may have a cough that is COVID or something of that sort, but they die of other complications, they're going to write COVID instead. So,
wait, but so you go back to the first thing you said. Initially, you said that this is to get reimbursed by the federal government.
So like Medicare, Medi-Cal, stuff like that. But I don't think we should be talking about this stuff. Might get us in trouble.
Oh, you're right. We have to protect our sponsorships, which we have many of. And on that note, I was looking back at our past podcast where I was reviewing the Rack album. Rack's Boy album. And I got some feedback from my buddy at work, Derek, and he thought it was funny. He thought it was funny, but he respectfully disagreed with my opinion.
Respectfully,
So.
respectfully is that the right word?
I would say that was a good way of putting it. He respectfully disagreed. I was wrong. He basically said I was dead wrong, but he respected my opinion.
Hey man, your boy Derek, he's got good taste, man. Let me maybe him and I should start a playlist. Be pretty good.
I think you two should do a podcast. To be perfectly honest.
Hey man, I think
Double D's.
Start.
The Double D podcast. There you go. But I will say, if Derek's listening, I'll say that I did add 5 songs from the Rack album to my personal playlist on Spotify, and I enjoy them. I think they're great. Boomerang is solid. Passion,
Told you.
Louis the Child. I follow him. Just like Don now.
Hey, you listen to his other stuff? It's pretty good, right?
I'm kidding. I've only heard this one song.
Oh my god! Listen to his other stuff. It's wonderful.
I'll get to it. It's on my queue. Oh, man. But my queue is very long, so I don't know when I'll be realistic.
If it's anything I know of, dude, that queue is We'll talk about it next year, maybe.
We'll talk about it next time, maybe. Now, I thought that particular segment was pretty entertaining. Dawn had some great opinions. I think we were quite balanced in our perspective. We provided 2 sides of the coin for this album review, and I thought, why not continue this kind of, heading to the phone, so to speak, right? Like getting some audience feedback. And one topic that came up recently from one of my buddies who's really into astronomy, he suggested we talk about something that Elon Musk has been working on. And Dawn, since I believe you might be a little bit more familiar with this particular technology, at a high level, of course, not at a detailed level, how about you kind of introduce this one? It's kind of cool, right?
We're talking about Neuralink?
We're talking about Neuralink, yeah.
Neuralink, fantastic. Well, I'm not really well versed in it, right? Most of the stuff I say on here isn't true anyways. But we all know Elon Musk, basically modern day Iron Man, creator of all things good, purveyor of bad, well, whatever you have. Neuralink is one of those companies I believe he launched quite recently. And it has to deal with sort of like the meshing of AI and humans. What makes it complex is it's sort of like an insertion of, for simple words, a computer or a way of some sort of processing unit that's able to read the stuff your brain uses to control everything. And that being electrical impulses and sort of like, they call them action potentials. It's like the communication, similar to how you and I use voice to speak. They use these action potentials to speak to each other, neurons, right? As far as I know the initial implications are more or less to help those that need it most, where their brain circuitry is kind of fried and there needs to be some medical implants to help fix or remedy something that used to work but doesn't anymore, as well as future mental issues that we could possibly sort of influence by stimulating the brain certain ways. And I think, do you think I did a good enough job kind of explaining what it was, give or take, without getting too much into the details?
Fantastic job.
Thanks, man.
You did a fantastic job.
Thanks, man.
And I'll add to that by saying that a couple of things about this article in particular, and the article I'm referring to, I'm sure you could find this news everywhere, but it's from the Oxford Student.
Very credible. Very credible.
Might be a student publication from Oxford University, and it was written by Arnav Lahiri.
Yep, he's probably going to be an intern over here soon. That's why he wrote this. Yeah,
he might be, from May 19, 2020. And I found several things very interesting here. And basically, the whole idea of our minds meshing...
I'm sorry. Oh, wait, let me just call this out really quick. If you look at like the latest articles, man, on the right of the thing, there's one called Tom, Jerry, and Syphilis. I read syphilis. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's why I was just laughing. Because the picture, it's like...
shout out to semi-dyslexia right there, man. It's always hilarious when that happens.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, I think you know, we got to do better with the sources for sure. We're struggling. I got to stop clicking on the first link I find. I think I got to do a little bit better job. But I digress. So the part that I liked the most was the whole, symbiosis between the human and artificial intelligence. Like, one of the comments that Elon Musk might have made before is, we're already kind of like androids, right? Because most of us are attached to our phone. We're always looking at the screen. We're searching, we're reading news, we're messaging, we're texting, we're ordering things off Amazon. We're doing anything and everything with our phone. And that begs the question, well, what's next, right?
Sure.
With technology always improving and our pursuit of faster, more efficient, power consumption saving technology, a logical step, although it's very difficult to implement, a logical step would be directly connecting our brainwaves, our impulses, our electrical actions, or what was the word that you were saying? The action potentials, right? Directly connecting them to the technology, that would be the next frontier. And the whole idea of that, right? Like having some kind of a, microprocessor, a chip embedded, implanted into our brain and always receiving stimuli and sending stimuli through Bluetooth or whatever it may be to all of our gadgets. That's kind of astounding. Like the whole idea of it is straight out of science fiction for me. Do I think it is the future? I actually do. I don't know how soon we'll be able to harness that technology, but it's a good first step that some level of implanted chip inside the brain is working to help alleviate some symptoms of these brain disorders and diseases. I think that's a great first step. I just don't know if you and I will be alive when this is becoming commonplace.
I hope not, man. I hope not, because if that's the case, it's like having a damn Google search in your head. If we get to that level that I'm thinking about, and all that, 16 plus years of schooling that we've gone through would go to waste. Cramming it all in, man. It kind of scares me when it comes to think about it, because it... excuse me. Damn, this beer is hitting hard. This is delicious. I think whenever we talk about reaching the level of normalizing sort of like a cyborg race, which I think if you combine humans and AIs would become, I think we're heading more towards the lines of the movie WALL-E, where everyone's kind of just doing their own thing on their beds with no care for anything because everything is all done digitally. It scares me thinking about that sort of thing, and I hope it doesn't reach that level of development in our lifetimes. But as far as I know, from all I've learned, technology expands exponentially, so this shit may happen when we're old, and it may be great enough where we'll get it done and we could be the first beta testers and live in that artificial world that they may develop. I don't know.
I thought of something while you were talking. Why do we always think that this kind of development in technology would lead us to the WALL-E lifestyle, where we're pretty much in beds all the time? Before you answer, I actually think it might have the opposite effect, because if our brains are in this kind of super close relationship to technology, why not have technology regulate our physical? Why not have technology kind of, allocate time, maybe every day, to work our bodies out so we're always fit? And maybe we don't have to do this consciously. It could be subconsciously through that tech.
But then when you do that sort of stuff, where's the whole free will aspect of living life?
Oh, you still have that. You still have it.
But you're fulfilling a schedule based off of that.
You're fulfilling a schedule. You're fulfilling a schedule to prevent health problems that would otherwise cause a lot of problems in the health industry, right? I mean, you think about this. Most people in the world, they have the real problems are what? Diabetes, hypertension, right? And especially for things like type 2 diabetes, these are things that can be avoided if you have a long history of good diet and proper exercise. A lot of us don't. I mean, that's simply the facts. A lot of us don't. But imagine in this type of atmosphere, in this world where technology is embedded in our brains and they can even control and regulate parts of our daily, I'm not saying our entire life, parts of our daily lifestyle and routine. Wouldn't it be something if we could actually get rid of certain diseases, certain epidemics forever by having this type of focus where every human being is just supposed to work out hour a day and stave off any kind of illnesses that way? That way, I think you're not going to be like a Wall-E. You're not going to be like those kids on the beds all the time. You're going to be a very healthy adult. And guess what? This is only a fraction of the time that you're doing this. The rest is all free will. If you want to go play sports, you totally can. And guess what? Do you know how much more amazing sports with embedded implants will be?
Wait. This takes me back, man, when we had a conversation of whether or not athletes should be able to dope up.
Right.
And I was all for it. And you were like, I don't know about that. This is the same thing, man. You're giving them...
It's
yes,
not.
it is, dude.
It's not.
You're
it's
giving
not because,
them...
No, because I was saying that doping is bad because it's outlawed. It's banned. Right?
Okay.
I was saying that it's something that clearly all the sports leagues have agreed that no, if you are caught doping, you are banished from the league. And I was basically riding that pedantic standpoint all the way to the end. Now what I'm saying is, this is a new territory. There is no regulation.
But how is it? Of course. But then once it reaches that mature level, of course there's going to be some regulations on it. And because it is a performance-enhancing instrument in this case, don't you think they would outlaw that in professional sports?
We don't know. We don't know. I think we can't predict the future.
It's basically like finally implanting this in Lonzo Ball's head, and he finally passes a good ball. You know, something like that. Like, it's not fair. Why give them the?
You know what it's really like? It's really like no. I'll tell you what it's really like. It's like planting this in Don's head and having him come up with a very relevant analogy. Because clearly he hasn't been watching the NBA. Lonzo Ball.
Oh wait! Of course I'm not watching the NBA, man. The NBA's off. It's suspended right now.
I know. But there are highlights. You can watch you can look at the Yahoo game log. You can look at the box score.
Find me a Lonzo Ball highlight. You know, like, come on, those don't exist. It's all photoshopped.
Well, there's more of them than a LaMelo Ball highlights. He hasn't even played a game in a year.
Hey, man, it's hard to find cameras down there where he's playing. So, you know, it's hard to capture it. But once he hits the NBA with my first pick, oh my God, I can't wait for us to do that, by the way. It's going to be great.
I'm still not entirely clear on how we're going to do that. But I'm excited about it.
No. All right, so we're going to build our league.
What does that? Wait. What does that mean, though? Building our league, like, where are we going to do it?
So we're gonna start. We're gonna start with this year. According to what you've told me, I get the first 2 picks, so it's fantastic. So LaMelo's going first, and then supposedly Wiseman's really good, so I'll probably pick him up as my big man over the long term.
Okay, sure.
And then just over the years, we'll start developing a custom 2K roster, where the SoCal Bunsos will basically run your team, and we'll have, you know, dynasties after dynasty after dynasty after, you know, LaMelo retires and, you know, I lose a couple years and then back to a dynasty again, you know. That's how it's gonna work.
I like this idea a lot, and I think we will definitely do this. But this leads us to our next audience suggested topic, which is, of course, should NBA 2K21 be launched? Now, let me kind of preface this by saying, for those of the people in the audience that don't know, NBA 2K is a long-running series by 2K Sports where you basically get to have a very simulation-style basketball playing experience. It's a 5-on-5 game. You can control multiple players on your team by switching amongst them, and it's a lot of fun. I used to play almost religiously back in undergrad, and even years after. I haven't played the last couple of years. I haven't touched a 2K in quite some time. But, you know, with this NBA season being on hiatus, as Don alluded to, there is no basketball. There is no highlights of Lonzo Ball to watch anymore. Okay, we can let that one go. So I wonder that in this situation, usually around August, right before the preseason starts, you'll have the new 2K, the new iteration of 2K come out, and of course they charge you $60. There's probably a premium edition, a Legends edition with like most likely Kobe on the cover this year, going for $100. And a lot of people love it. A lot of people like to buy the VC and whatnot. But what my buddy Soresh, he brought this up. He basically asked, what's the point of launching 2K21 when the season's not even over yet? Why not just continue 2K20? Or, if you still think 2K21 should be launched, should it be charged? Should they be charging less? Like, should it be half the price of the usual retail value?
Nope.
Okay, so what do you think about that? You think they should charge full price?
Yep. I think, all right, two things.
Okay.
If I start off with the business perspective, they should go ahead and launch a new 2K as they do annually. I think it makes money sense for the producers of the game, 2K company. Is 2K the company? I don't even know.
I think 2K Sports may be a division of something. Maybe just 2K.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so for whatever 2K is involved with, it makes sense business-wise to release a new version for 2K21. And it allows even though the rookies can be kind of factored in with a custom roster and updated roster sent online, it allows a refreshing sort of the base of the game, and this goes on to the actual gameplay side of it now. With every iteration of 2K, there's typically a bunch of updates and a bunch of changes, some loved, some not so much, but it does get better year after year after year, at least graphically. So number one, with the new launch of new generation consoles, I think it is prime for 2K to go ahead and get that ready to be ready for that launch, right? Because why not be one of the release day games that they could capitalize on and harness the new power of these consoles to its fullest.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, yes, go ahead with 2K21.
Yeah,
but release it later.
No. I'm saying release it ASAP, and then release it again after with a more updated version if necessary.
But that doesn't make much sense, right?
Well, you wouldn't need to release it. You would already build it into the game. It's just about having the code ready for the updated consoles when it comes. Right? Build it as it is now, or at least drop a lesser version of what you're probably anticipating. But still drop it, because there's going to be changes that they've been working on for years.
No, but see, you're missing the point here, because the NBA season, the new NBA season, hasn't even started.
But that's more reason to do a new 2K, because then you could factor this in and make the story mode even greater, right? Because usually the story mode is caught slacking. Right? They're down to 30 when they were at 300. That sort of feeling. So, if you build a story mode that kind of reflects, oh shit, my season's over and I couldn't complete my high school season. How am I going to do when college ball hits? And you make that transition of your training and what kind of player you want to become because your coach didn't finish off what he or she may have wanted to mold you into before you headed off to Duke or UCLA or all the other marquee schools that have been featured in past 2Ks. Why not build that in and make it, play with what many people are seeing as setbacks and make it something great? Why can't they do that?
I think it's a strong point for the My Career, for the My Player mode, but the way I look at it is this: if you want to implement something like that,
sure,
it makes more sense to have a college player have his season ended prematurely before the Sweet 16, before the tournament, and then get into the draft, right? Sure. And then it's really, okay, how do you prove yourself? How do you raise your stock during this time? And maybe what NBA 2K does for the first time, they focus on some of the other things. They focus on media outreach. They focus on the social media game.
Yeah.
They focus on other things, make it creative. So I like what you're saying about this.
Hey, 2K, man. Send over your sponsorship ASAP. These are great ideas. If it's not implemented in 2K21, I'm sure COVID season will strike back next year. So when 2K22 comes out, hit us up. We got it. Just give us a free copy. Maybe a couple PS5s here and there. We'll make it work, I think,
For sure. And I will improve on Don's idea a little bit. I'm strongly opposed to having staggered releases of 2K21. I would much rather have 2K21 come out on all consoles on Christmas Day, along with the PlayStation 5. Like, have a bundle where it's 2K and PlayStation 5, or you don't even have to have a bundle, but just have it there as a premier game that people can look forward to. Why then? Because that should coincide with the start of the new season. I think it's very important to not release the 2K21 until this current NBA season has reached its terminus. I think it's... You don't think so?
That's where we disagree again. Okay, from the business perspective, releasing it as soon or according to schedule, in like September is ideal.
No, it's not. It's not.
People are still going to buy it.
No, look, it's not about people buying some copies. It's about the most number of people buying a copy. And think about it this way. Okay. If the game that you have right now, NBA 2K20, is still valid until the NBA Finals are over in July or whatever, in September, there's no need to buy the new game. You can still have that game. You can still have 2K20 and enjoy it, and it'll be accurate. It'll be a live game with updates that they're still doing. It makes all the more sense to take a little break from the NBA Finals and then build up the momentum, start up your ad campaign, show the new cover boy for 2K, show the Legend Edition with Kobe around Thanksgiving, and then boom. Before Christmas time hits, load up all the shelves at Best Buy and all the different not restaurants, all the different retailers with your copy of 2K21. That's what would really sell. You don't think so?
I mean, I think regardless, people are still gonna buy it. And I really mean that. I want to agree with you. I understand where you're coming from, but once you get a new console, you're gonna buy it anyways, unless there's like some sort of transitionary copy that you buy a legendary edition on the PS4 and it automatically converts over to a PS5 digital download or something like that. That would probably be fantastic. Or you against what you said, release sort of like a My Court, where the season part of the game isn't released until the actual NBA season is reinstated, something of that sort.
Okay, let me give you another argument here that might be kind of interesting.
Sure.
Why not do this? Why not just as an act of good faith to all the NBA fans out there, all the diehard 2K enthusiasts out there, why not just say, you know what, guys, because of COVID season, we're going to do you a solid. We're going to give you a one-time update for NBA 2K20 that gives you the rookie class, that gives you some added features, some new storylines for my career, and this will be free. This will be an act of good faith. And guess what? 2K22 is going to be the best game ever for next gen. PS5, we're going to take another year to develop it. The graphics are going to be so smooth. All the bugs are going to be ironed out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. If they have another year to work on it.
They have another year every damn year, bro. They always have a year to work on it. It never goes away.
No. But they're going to have another year, dude. I know what you're saying. I know that. Okay, in case you don't know, I hope you understand. It's not like the same code is used for 2K21 on PS4 as it will be on PS5. I hope you understand.
Yeah. Sure. Yes.
It's not just, you make a couple of like code changes like line by line. Okay, it's good. It's working for PS5. No, it's oftentimes it's a much more detailed, extensive task because of all the different models that they're working with, right? All the different character models, the graphic detail, the engine, it works differently. The ability to harness the graphics card and the hard drive, the SSD speed of the console, everything's different. So it's not a simple port over. I think if they really take the time with it, if they take maybe an additional year, they've already started. I bet you a lot of the work is already done for the PS5 edition. But imagine if they took another year, made the game truly amazing. So it's not just a marginal improvement. And here's the thing, man. I think you'll probably agree with this. Every year, sports games are largely the same. And this is a very common complaint.
Sure.
Why would I ever pay $60 for like a 10% difference in the game? The gameplay mechanics are largely the same. Storyline, they may tweak it a little bit. One year they have Spike Lee, one year they have somebody else. Who cares? For the most part, you're buying the same game every time, and you're paying more for the roster update. I think it makes all the more sense to either, as an act of good faith, give out this one for free or charge it as a DLC, which is something 2K only does with virtual currency. But I think it's a smart business move if you charge, let's say, $20 for the season update for 2K21. In this way, I think you'll get a record number of people buying 2K20 at a discount and then buying the DLC for full price. How do you think about that?
Nah.
You're not a fan of that idea. I guess I lack your understanding of how the video game industry works in this case.
Yeah.
Because what you're basically saying, it may work for NBA 2K, but do you think the same would apply for, let's say, the hockey franchise, the baseball franchise, the Madden franchise? If everything's delayed, if seasons are extended, how could you possibly release games at the usual time of the year?
You just can't, man. You're selling a schedule. There's a certain expectation. There's a certain dopamine rush that I expect every time a new 2K game is released. I mean, and this is me.
You can get that rush months later. You can get that rush in December.
I mean, yeah, I get it. But then I'm going to have to be all, the fucking, what is it? The weather change, all right? The sun's not going to be out as much. I'm already depressed as is with COVID season. Give me my dopamine rush early, if anything.
Dude, I think you're listening to too much Boy by Rack. It's a lot of this emo bubblegum crap that you're saying right now, man. What the hell? what are you up to, man? Is it the beer? Is it the 8%?
Dude,
the Russian beer that you're sipping on?
Dude, it's delicious. It is delicious. I'll get it for you one day.
It sounds good.
Man. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I think in the ideal world, taking your approach would probably make sense. But I believe that the core of 2K21 has already been developed. They're just working out the kinks at this point. And getting ready to mass produce. I mean, shit, what is it? Almost a week from now. It's going to be June. A little over a week from now.
Yeah.
Their slate is supposedly usually for release in, September, give or take?
Yeah.
To do all those things when you already have a product that's maybe 90% complete, I don't think it makes business sense to not release it when you had anticipated doing it.
Well, let's think about it this way, though. Plenty of games, even you know this, plenty of games are delayed over and over again for reasons of what? Oh, there's some bugs.
Those are... Oh, shit. There's this one game that just got released on Amazon. I'll talk about it after. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, like, for instance, I think there was this game that I'm actually really looking forward to, and I hope that you eventually get a chance to play, too. One of my favorite games for the PS4 was called Last of Us. It was a beautiful post-apocalyptic game with basically like this guy who was protecting a young girl who happened to be the cure, like she was immune.
Sure.
And the whole story was very engaging. It kind of played out like a movie. And they recently said they were going to release The Last of Us Part 2 earlier this year. I think, sometime last year there was an update. Oh, new game coming out. It's going to drop like March or something. But they delayed it, and I think it's coming out maybe this summer now because obviously, they were still developing some things. Maybe they weren't totally satisfied with the product at the time. So the whole concept of delaying a game's release to get it right, I think most people, Don, would be an advocate of that because it's better to get a game that's working 100% on day one than get a game that's full of bugs on day one, requiring patch after patch after patch just to get it stable enough that you can play it and enjoy it. I'm not saying that NBA 2K is in that position, but it is a similar concept where you have to delay the release, Don. There's really no way you can release the game at the time that it's usually released when the current season is being extended.
And I get that. I just think, as a businessman myself, if you have prepared so much and you know you're ready for something, but things outside of your own control go haywire, you still do it to the best of your ability.
That generic advice does not apply in this context.
It totally does. It totally does. Because even though the story in the real world may be different from whatever is going on in the game is the product that they have worked to perfect in their opinion. So,
but see, Don, you're totally missing the point here. You're talking about the quality of the game. I'm talking about the fucking NBA season. It has not even finished yet.
But it is a game.
No, you don't. No, clearly.
Because look, no. Look, hear me out. No. Look, really quick. The NBA season does not coincide with the esports NBA season.
Yes, it does.
It does, but it doesn't. It doesn't have to. The NBA season in the esports 2K League can continue going on. It doesn't need the NBA season to reach completion for the NBA esports 2K competition to reach completion. Why not go off of that? Instead, go off of that schedule that is internal to your own little world in 2K and esports. Why wait for that? Why?
Because only less than 1% of the customers for 2K participate in the esports league.
Hey man, that 2% matters, man. I've been auditioning all these years. It's tough, alright? It's tough. You gotta understand, these are the premier players that would like an update and make the changes that they've probably recommended and 2K listened to make for the new iteration. I don't know. We're gonna keep on going back and forth. I still stand by it. Fucking 2K, release it. I believe in you. I will be one of those people that buys a copy when I get my PS5. Because I don't have a PS4. Dude, I get it. It would be odd if 2K were to release a game and the season hasn't reached completion, because then you can't, build a story. If you were relating it to the real world NBA season.
And hey, here's the thing though. How do you know that the rookies have actually been mocapped already?
Mocapped?
Motion captured.
Oh. Yeah, they may have. Because I know they for sure got LaMelo Ball on there, dude. Hey, he's got it, man. He's probably
know why? You know why? Because his dad probably called 2K. He's like, hey, my boy's going to be the first overall pick.
Hey,
Let's do this now.
Yo, hey. If I was LaMelo's dad, I would be doing the same thing, man. That guy's gonna be a superstar. So,
I don't know. I'm gonna give one of the Dawn, the ones that he usually gives me.
And I mean, we could go back. I don't know. It's not in our pay grade to make that decision.
But it's entirely in our pay grade to be completely ignorant of the facts and comment on what.
That's what I get paid for. What are you talking about? Ain't that why I'm here?
I feel you.
Hey, and by the way, I wanted to let me call it out. Yeah. It's shown on the screen, so I want to make sure I call it out. The game that I mentioned earlier is called Crucible. And Crucible, I think you would find this very interesting, is made by a company owned by Amazon. Okay. So this is the first game that is being released by Amazon Studios, and it's completely free. And I will be downloading it right after we get off, while I go to sleep.
What's the basic premise of Crucible?
As far as I know, it's a shooter, but it's also something called a MOBA. And a MOBA is almost like a strategy game where it's a team versus a team with certain objectives, almost like a capture the flag sort of thing. Where you pit each other against in opposite sides of the map, and your goal is to take over the other person's base.
So, just searching Crucible on Google, And the first result is a
Yeah. Don't talk about the review. It doesn't get good reviews for whatever reason.
Okay.
But hey, man, it's free. I mean, why not try it out?
Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after the call. I did want to transition to one thing real quick though, since we were on the NBA 2K21, and great topic by the way. Shout out to Soros for recommending it. I expected we would have a difference of opinion, and we did, and I'm glad we had that played out for the fans and the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Now the cool thing is, I was reading a little bit some headlines about the NBA, and apparently the tentative plan. And it hasn't been confirmed yet, but the tentative plan seems to be they want to have a 70-game regular season. Why 70? Because I think a lot of the teams who have signed these regional and local TV contracts, for them to get paid the full amount, they need to play at least 70 games. It's kind of like a threshold. Sure. So if that's the ballpark we're working with, that may be doable. Right, that may be doable because I forget how many games have already been played.
Does that include playoffs?
No. This is just regular season. So 70 regular season games, okay. And then you jump into playoffs. And Adam Silver is very adamant, no pun intended, about having a 7-game series for all the playoffs. He really wants that to happen. Okay. And to be honest with you, I get why. He wants to make sure that as much as possible, this season is not looked back on with an asterisk hanging over it. Sure. He wants to make sure that it is respected, the champion is crowned properly, and everybody acknowledges that, yes, this was a real season, even though it had its setback. Mm-hmm. The champion is real, and nothing should be discredited from the champion. I can admire that, but I think it's impossible. I think knowing what happened with this year, knowing Rudy Gobert shut down the league in more ways than one, I think it's impossible to not remember that this particular year was marred by COVID-19. Sure. The champion will still be a champion. I have no doubt that if the NBA season does continue, there will be a champion, and we will write him down in the annals of history, but this will be talked about for 8 years. This will be talked about for a long time, and especially if things don't go the way of LeBron James. As you know, LeBron has been keeping his hunger alive. He's been maintaining contacts with his teammates. As a matter of fact, he has been doing some private one-on-one, one-on-two, or I guess, little workouts with probably Anthony Davis and maybe Kyle Kuzma. Who knows? The rest don't really matter anyways. And,
what do you mean? What, Caruso? Come on.
Oh, Caruso
Bald
would be
Mamba,
lucky.
Dude. The Bald Mamba.
Caruso at this point would be lucky to get a DM from LeBron, to be perfectly honest. That's the kind of relationship they have.
Yeah, he probably added like a different Alex Caruso on his IG.
I think so. Oh, it's like, this ain't you, bro? This ain't you?
Oh, my bad, bro.
Oh, I guess we weren't talking to you then. My bad. But no, I think LeBron is very hungry, and he realizes that Father Time is undefeated. Yep. And of course, you can look at many examples of, aging star players still finding success, like Tom Brady, even Kobe Bryant. They all found success, later in their careers. But with LeBron especially, he needs to seize the opportunity. And if for whatever reason he's not able to win this year, it may be a question mark. Like, hey, what if the Lakers could continue the momentum they had before the season was abruptly postponed? Mm-hmm. What if the Lakers could continue that momentum and the season was never postponed, and they competed to reclaim the top overall seed in the NBA over Milwaukee and give LeBron a long and awaited, what would it be, 5th ring? It'd be his 5th or 4th ring? 4th ring, right? Because 2 with Miami, 1 with the Cavs. Yeah. So I think LeBron has a lot to lose this particular year. Mm-hmm. I think, it sounds to me, from the greater perspective, like the NBA season will continue in July, and we'll be able to crown a champion hopefully by mid-September, it seems like.
Yeah,
but what do you think?
What they're going to have to do is, if they want to expedite it and then jump back into the regular schedule, they're going to have to re-implement the whole back-to-back games situation going on. And depending on how the travel situation works, I think it can work to be able to play multiple games or multiple back-to-backs. So long as you're kind of isolating the league in a certain location rather than having to travel all over the place. If you eliminate that kind of jet lag, for lack of a better term to explain the whole thing, it can be done, and you can speed up the tail end of the season. Whether or not the whole 7 game series should happen, I don't know. Especially if you expedite the season as I had proposed right now. It might tire the guys out a little bit quicker than normal, especially considering the fact that they don't get any rest days to really recoup and, fix their mental sanity as they normally do when they go home and stuff. I don't know. Adam Silver has a tough call to make. But
well, I will add that, in terms of the flights and whatnot, I think the tentative plan would be, at least for the regular season, to finish that off, have all the teams be in one city.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if they are all there, it allows them the opportunity to have these back-to-backs with a lesser deterioration spent on their bodies in the air and traveling. Right, because instead of having it take half a day to transport a team over, it takes 10 minutes now, something like that.
I actually think it could work without any back-to-backs. What they would have to do is play every other day. So I would.
Dude, that's gonna be so fucking baller, though. You imagine, like, that means there's gonna be basketball every single day, and it feels like forever. I don't even know if they did that before. That's how long it's been. But it's gonna be like a marquee matchup every single day.
Absolutely. And I'd be an advocate of that because, it's not like I'm, and we talked about this before, but it's not like I'm desperately missing basketball. Like, I'm totally fine without it.
Yeah, you are, dude. You're missing your boyfriend, Lonzo. Come on.
Well, at least I'm not a pedophile like you.
Hey, you know what,
talking
man?
about LaMelo
You
Ball.
do what you gotta do, bro. You do what you gotta do. All right. I think he's over 18, right? I think.
Oh yeah, you go ahead, Google that real quick.
I'm not going to, man. Just cause.
Hey, that might be flagged by the alphabet.
Yeah,
you never know.
Some of the things we say on this damn podcast, I'm already being watched by the government for. Come on, man.
Yeah, and it's really instigated by me. I think I start the conversation that way, and you probably start sweating a little bit. You're like, oh.
Yeah, man, because you'll ask a question, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this, but
I feel
no
you.
filter, let's fucking go.
But I appreciate that even with your no filter, there's very much a big filter on there. So
there's gotta be, otherwise we would stop recording.
I think so. You do a good job of reining it in. So I think we're both looking forward to the NBA season coming back in general.
Yep, and 2K21 being released in September, yeah.
And 2K21 being released in general.
Yeah.
We will definitely be jumping on that later on.
Yeah.
But I just hope that, we don't get any new cases of COVID-19 while they're playing, because that would be probably the end of the season. Like, imagine if, Lakers are playing a game and for whatever reason LeBron contracts COVID-19.
Yeah.
What would you do in that situation? You'd probably have to shut down the season, right?
I would think so.
Oh, man.
I would think so, because, if they're taking the right precautions and they are sort of isolating the league, they should be able to control that. If you keep them all in a hotel that's somehow situated right next to the arena, it may work out. But then, the normal time they get to spend with their loved ones is basically gone and all that. It's a tough thing to do.
Yes and no, right? I thought the idea was, one of the ideas was, the Disney resort in Orlando has enough room for everybody and their families.
Dude, okay, I get that, but fuck, like, how much is that going to cost? Like, Disney's not going to do it for free.
No, but the NBA will pay. Well, why wouldn't the NBA? The NBA pays the hotels anyways.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. So, well, do they? Or do the teams front the cost?
Well, that's what I mean. Like
you know
the teams are paying. Like the NBA, the teams are the extension of the NBA.
These are unprecedented times, so I wouldn't be surprised now that I think about it. But I don't know. I'll when I see it, I'll believe it.
Fair enough, fair enough. So we will definitely be looking out for more news on that front. We're optimistic. There was a time, maybe about a week or two ago, where I wasn't really sure if the season was going to happen again.
Hey
It just
man,
seemed like there.
well, I'm super sad though. I mean, usually it's baseball season right now, and that's something me and my wife are really into. So I'm a little bummed, dude. I'm a little bummed.
I feel you. What team do you guys root for? Is it the Dodgers or the Angels?
The Dodgers, man. What are you talking? Angels, get out of here, dude. Blue side all day. Blue side.
That's been surprisingly consistent for you. Like, it's always worked out that you support the blue side, the underdog.
Yeah, man.
But Dodgers, of course, they have a solid team, right? What's your brief Dodgers update? How are they projected to do this year?
We'll see, man. We got a really good outfielder, but and Mookie Betts, really great. We've lost some people.
Trade.
We've lost my favorite player, Hyun Ryu.
Yes, he was the best.
He was my favorite player. He should have won the Cy Young, but he didn't. He was cheated out of it, but it's all good. But in due time. I think hopefully we get a little bit further than the World Series this year. Hopefully.
It's hard to get much further than the World Series, but I know. I hope they win. I hope they win now.
Yeah, man. But
anyway. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So that is our brief baseball update. We will probably not touch baseball again.
Well, I'm doing it because I know you don't follow baseball, dude. That's why I'm trying to
I know you cut that real short. Like you really tried to step out of that.
Yeah, because you're like, who's your favorite player? I mentioned it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know these people.
I know. But no, actually, I've heard of them. To be honest, like I've been to one Dodgers game before, and it was interesting. I learned a lot about the game, like what the pitcher and the catcher are communicating to each other. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of opportunities to socialize in the field, in the stands rather. And it's a ton of people, like outdoors at Dodger Stadium. Like it's a ton of people coming out to watch. And the stadium, of course, is huge. It was cool. It was cool to see that. I learned the players a little bit. The pitchers are very important to the game of baseball. I think I didn't really realize that until much later, how you rotate through pitchers and you save certain pitchers for later. Yeah. So that's pretty much the extent of my baseball knowledge. But go Dodgers! Boo Angels! Boo Angels are bad.
No, they're all right. They're all right. It's just that's not Dodgers. Dodgers. Los
Doyers, right? I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of my Latino friends who are advocates of the baseball team. I talk like I'm some posh guy that thinks baseball is beneath him or something.
Living in Irvine and shit. That's what Irvine does, man. It makes you soft. You gotta move back. You gotta move back.
I feel you. I thought Santa Ana would make me rougher, but instead it made me more posh and interested in British politics. So clearly something is off here. But hey, before we sign off on this one, how did your Lokels Only run go?
Oh man, well it's still going.
Wow,
it's good. I'm opening it up. We're talking about my company, Bunso here. We partnered up with these people that are giving us a residency at their spot in Little Tokyo in LA, downtown LA. Called Lokels Only. It's great. There's a good handful of us that are there. They're kind of helping out establish the night program that they have. And I've been there, I think last week I was there almost every night. This week now. What is it, Friday today? It's Friday.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on days. I've been working hard. I was there last night and the night before. And I'll be there again all day Sunday.
Wow.
It's good, man. It's working out. We got some new merch developed. Just submitted the order today. Once it comes in, I'll go ahead and share that with the world. I'm really excited about it. A little preview.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Fat Kids Club.
Oh wait! I gotta get on Twitch to see this because you're not sharing your screen. But
no.
Give me a second. Let me take a look here.
Man.
Do you have it on your screen right now?
It's the Fat Kids Club. I will have it up right now. And the main image that we're going to be using. Let me look that up real quick. All right, without the verbiage, just FYI, this is designed by my lovely wife.
Oh,
you're gonna check it out.
Shout out to Kelly.
Downloads right here. Boom. That is going to be our new icon for merch. It's a black screen right now. I don't know why it's not showing. Oh my god, why is it black? All right, let's see if this one
Interesting.
opens.
It's very, very minimalist.
See?
All one,
Oh,
all
there it
one
is.
color. Okay. Now it's a oh, that's cute. That is cute.
It's the Fat Kids Club icon.
Respectful, okay?
Yeah, no, he said it's cute. Yeah, she was about to beat you up if you said anything otherwise.
Hey, why does Kelly have so much beef with me? I mean, look, just because she's not as good at handling the spice.
Oh,
as
I'm just saying, man. You're talking a lot of smack, dude. Once those 10 lines hit, I don't think you're gonna be talking much, man.
I think I'll be crying. I'll be bawling my eyes.
Oh, there
out.
we go. See, it finally
And
loaded up.
Kelly will probably say, "I told you so. I told you so." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. You're right."
Yeah, man.
But this is cool. So do you imagine like a certain color for the T-shirt, like maybe pink?
Yeah,
or,
well, I mean, we'll see.
Okay.
Most likely pink on the pig itself. Maybe a nice black or white shirt, and then let's say like Bunso, Fat Kids Club. It's gonna be good, and it's with a P. All right, not F.
Right,
P.
right.
PH.
I like it.
So I'm
I
looking
like
forward
it.
to
And
it.
of course, for the fans that don't know, break down why the pH is so important.
Oh man, there's multiple reasons, right? First reason being the PH stands for the Philippines normally, and that's the kind of food that I kind of base everything off of with what I do, part of my upbringing. But more importantly, the pH in fat helps discern the difference between what is normally known as, kind of like a little bit above chubby, maybe more, kind of fat with the F, versus PHAT, where it's...
Say it. Bro.
I don't want it. What do you think PHAT stands for?
I think it's another way of saying fresh. It's another way of saying cool. It's another way of saying hip, in style.
Oh.
Why don't we look it up on Urban Dictionary and find
I'm gonna
out?
look it up.
Excellent.
Oh, damn! On Merriam-Webster, dude,
man.
highly attractive or gratifying. Excellent.
It's a
That
great
is
word.
fantastic. It's working
I
out.
like it. I like it.
Oh,
I like it so
man.
much, man.
What does Urban Dictionary say? Let's see what that says. Hopefully, we don't do anything bad.
Yeah, hopefully we don't
Fat.
lose a sponsor here. Let's see.
pH fat, not to be used fat, is mid 90s term for cool.
I like it. I like it.
It's working out. pH fat.
By the way, like
There we
whatever
go.
whatever happened to tight? Like remember like we used to say, "Oh, that's tight."
Yeah, man.
That's...
Used to be like, yo, that's tight. Or used to say like, yo, what up, fool? Stuff like that. No, I don't do that stuff.
Yeah. Like I used to say fool a lot. I used to say tight. That was my shit back in the day. But I think you picked a great definition here.
I think so, man.
There's probably no need to read it out loud for the audience, but
Pretty hot and thick.
Great acronym.
And it could go for many things, right? And I think
Sure.
it just makes sense because my food, when I define it, it's called a fat kid's dream.
Right.
Because my food is probably not something that you should be eating every day, but it is delicious and it hits all the right notes that you want when you want to have that one amazing cheat meal, once a week or every day, if you're coming to me, that sort of thing.
For sure. So, just to be clear, are you going to be cooking up some stuff this Sunday at Lokels Only?
I am, yeah. I'll be there Sunday all day.
Very
Working
good.
on a breakfast menu. They want me to launch the brunch section
Ooh.
of it, so I'll be the only
Okay.
one there.
I like
I have yet to finalize it, but
Okay,
we'll be there Sunday. Come check us out if you can.
for sure.
And we'll be there again next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. So, Arjun, that's news to you. We probably are going to have to record sometime else.
All good.
Another thing.
All good.
By the way, I
Yeah.
do want to notice. Next week, Friday, 1 week from today, we're going to be doing our first, probably beta iteration of a new event that I'm going to be holding called Friday Food Fight. It's going to be me versus another chef in the area, where I'm going to be doing twists on what they foresee as their kind of iconic dishes. And I'm going to make it my own, and it's going to be Iron Chefy, where there's going to be some judges there. And Lil Bunso XOXO is going to be taking the W home for Bunso whenever we can. So I'll give you more details about it next week when we talk about it. Still working it out.
Please do. And this might be on Instagram. It seems like.
Eventually, we're gonna work out the finer details of it. I'll
Gotcha,
probably do some
gotcha.
promotional videos sometime soon, maybe tomorrow.
Sure.
But it should be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. really showcase my skills or lack thereof. But more importantly, to learn and showcase all the great chefs that I know that really should be in the spotlight more than me. So
I hear you.
We'll
It's sounds like an exciting new venture for Bunso, and of course, as usual, I wish you nothing but the best. I think it's a fantastic thing that you're doing, and it seems like you guys are really growing, even during COVID season.
I know. It's so atypical, man. It feels a little weird because this wasn't supposed to happen. But I think as long as you put in the time and effort and you work hard at your craft, things kind of just line up for you. So, that's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing.
I love it. It is always beautiful to hear these updates from Bunso. I'm glad Lokels Only went well and is continuing to go well. You're helping them out. They're helping you out. It is a symbiotic relationship, just like what Elon Musk talked about with Neuralink. And sometimes, there are problems. Bunso may not be working out every single day of the week. Sometimes there's lowlights, sometimes there's highlights, just like the White House portrait ceremony may no longer have any highlights anymore. All the portraits may be gone forever. And similarly, there's always tension between political leaders. Right now, it's between the Democratic camp and the Republican camp. Trump versus Obama / Biden. Biden, who thinks he's Obama. But well, maybe, And on the flip side, on the other side of the pond, as I like to say, you do have the clash between the two titans, Sir Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson. And who knows, maybe even in the GTA universe, even in the Civilization 6 universe, the D and the A may be clashing as well. So,
oh, man, we're going to play one day. I think we'll get one game in, and then I think we'll be able to live stream us and probably record us playing one day. And
sure.
Having a conversation. We'll get to that point.
We'll talk about that.
2 or 3, or we'll see.
We'll talk about that for sure. I think we have covered quite a bit of number of topics today, and I was very much pleased to receive that audience feedback about the Neuralink suggestion. I thought that was a fascinating topic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And 2K21, I don't talk about video games too often, but today we did. We talked about a lot of video games today.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I think, shout out to Source for that one. Hopefully we gave you some interesting opinions. Obviously, we have no idea what we're talking about. We don't even understand the business very well.
No, I don't know anything, dude. All I know is how to put food on a plate and make it delicious for you. That's all I know.
Hey, and you're making a beautiful, beautiful hustle out of it. So I like it. I guess for all the fans out there, thank you for tuning in. We're noticing that our subscriber count is going up. We have 5 subscribers now. So shout out to
we've doubled.
Yeah. We doubled. That's right. Shout out, man. 5 is big, man. Yo, but when we hit 10, I think we have something special for the fans, don't we, Don? When we get to 10, that might be a big.
That might be a little outro, maybe something like that.
Okay, a little tease right there, teaser.
Something like that.
A little something cooking up in the kitchen.
A little t-shirt raffle, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe a little t-shirt raffle.
Little freestyle with Arjun right here. A little freestyle.
I might drop one. I might drop 1 or 2 bars. You never know. It might be everything. If we just get to 10, that might be like a glorious day. Glory, hallelujah for that one.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think this was another enjoyable episode. This time on a Friday night, coming at you live, sort of. And I will. By the way, shout out to everybody who gave us those great suggestions. I think putting in the timestamps, which I started doing from the last episode, was a great idea. I think now, not everybody has time for a long form 2-hour podcast, but with the timestamps, you can skip to the section that you want to listen to. You may not be interested in House of Commons. Trust me, most people are not. You can skip right through that first 20 minutes and go into the White House portrait ceremony, or we can talk about Neuralink. You can hear us talk about.
Just go straight to the part where I talk about Bunso. I know that's why everyone's here. So if you want the details, you just go right there. Timestamp towards the end. Works out.
There you go. And with that, this will be the A signing off. D, any last words before we let our fans go for the weekend?
I think I'm good. I am exhausted. I hope you guys are all doing well. I've been working my ass off, and hopefully sooner than later you guys can sit at the table with me, or with us actually, as we expand and grow and learn and get some cyborg stuff in the future done to us. So let's make it happen sooner than that.
There you go. And with that, this is SoCal DNA signing off. Until next time, guys, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Take care.
Catch you on the flippity flip.